Sleeping Beauty.
Once upon a time, in a far, far away land, there was a beautiful palace where the king and queen lived very, very happily. The queen was pregnant, expecting a baby, and one day she was swimming in the lake, very, very happy swimming in the lake. And she saw a little frog, a frog, a little green animal. And he was like, one day you're going to have a beautiful daughter. She's going to be a princess. She's going to be a girl. And the queen was very happy. So she returned back to castle and she said to the king, a frog told me that I'm going to have a baby girl. Isn't that fantastic? So the days went by, and it's true. The queen had a beautiful little girl, a little baby girl, a beautiful princess. And they decided to have a christening, a party to celebrate the birth of the little baby, of the baby princess. So they had a beautiful party, and the 12 magical good fairies were there. Well, theoretically there were 13, but the fairy number 13 was evil and awful, very, very bad. So they decided not to invite her. So the 12 beautiful fairies said beautiful things with their magical wands. They said, your daughter is going to be beautiful. And the second fairy said, and your daughter is going to be very clever and very intelligent. And the third fairy said, and your daughter is going to have a very good heart. She is going to be a very good person. And the fourth fairy said, and she's going to be good at sports, etc., etc., etc. And the 11th fairy said, and she's going to be so friendly and so nice that everybody will love her. But suddenly there was smoke, dark smoke, and a lot of noise. And when the smoke disappeared, it was the bad, evil fairy, fairy number 13. And she was very angry. And the queen tried to get the little baby, but she wasn't in time. The bad fairy took her away and made space. And she said, no, I wasn't invited. She was very, very angry. I wasn't invited to the christening. I will never forgive you. Never. So she said an awful, awful spell. And she waved her magical wand and she said, when your daughter reaches the age of 15, she will pinch her finger with a needle, with a spinning needle, and she will die. Everybody was very sad. 15 and she would die. That was awful. It was sadness. It was a disaster. And she went away. But there was the fairy number 12 left. She still could say something to make the situation better. And the queen said, oh, dear good fairy, can you do anything? And the good fairy, number 12, said, no, my queen, I can't. But I can do something to change the bad situation. So she waved her magical wand and she said, no, she won't die, but she will sleep. She will sleep deeply, deeply for 100 years. And only the kiss, the kiss of a prince will be able to make her go back to normal. So everybody said, well, sleeping 100 years isn't so bad like dying, so we guess it's okay. So the years went by, and the years went by, and the years went by. But the king and the queen decided to erase, to take away all the spinning wheels in palace. All of them were taken away. But one day, the young princess turned 15 years old. And she was playing hide and seek, and she was running around the castle, and she was very happy. But suddenly, she saw some stairs that had never been there before. So the young princess decided to go up those stairs. And she saw a door, which was locked. but she decided to open it. And she saw a very, very, very old lady, very, very old, spinning the wheel. And she said, "Excuse me, old lady, could I please try to spin the wheel?" And the old lady says, "Of course, my dear, of course you can. Come here." So the young princess sat down and started spinning the wheel, and ouch! She hurt herself. She really did, and she had blood. And she said, oh, I pinched myself. Oh. And she fell asleep. You and I know that that old lady was the evil witch. You and I know that. So everybody was very sad. Everybody was very sad and crying. Oh, what a tragedy. How terrible. So the 12 fairies got together and they decided to do something. They decided to move their magical wands and make everybody fall asleep. You know, asleep just like the princess. So that's what they did. And the years went by, and the years went by, and the years went by. 10, 20, 30, 40 years, 50 years, 60, 70, 80 years, 90 years, 100 years. And there was a prince walking around the palace. But there was a problem. The bad, evil witch had also moved her evil magical wand. And she had created pinchy brambles and brambles and brambles all around the castle. You know brambles? Plants that grow very high and that pinch. So they were everywhere and everywhere. And they got to be so high that you couldn't even see the tower of the palace. And they were poisonous. So most people, everybody so far, who had touched the brambles had died. So the prince was very, very brave. With his sword, you know, his magical sword, he decided to cut his way through the brambles and cut his way and cut his way and cut his way. And he found the palace door. He opened it. And what was his surprise? He saw everybody asleep. The soldiers were asleep. The flies, the insects, were asleep. And everybody was asleep. And he thought, how strange. He tried, wake up, wake up. But nobody reacted, of course, as you and I know. And suddenly, he opened another door and he saw such a beautiful woman, such a beautiful young lady. It was the princess. And she was fast asleep. And he thought, you are so beautiful. And he fell in love. And he decided to kiss her. And how beautiful. She opened her eyes. And everybody opened their eyes. And everybody was happy. And everybody was dancing. And of course, they decided to get married. Because the princess was also in love with the prince, who was so handsome and so beautiful that they were both in love. So they got married. Everybody was awake. Everybody was happy. And they lived happily ever after. I hope you liked it.